There is life beyond the church, and I am telling you, it's super sweet. Will you have to undergo a lot of changes? Yes. Will you have to do a lot of growing? Yes. But baby, you came here for that. You came here, you chose to be here in this time so that you could be a part of these wonderful, massive changes that are happening in the world. And you are equipped. You have everything you need to be able to walk away from all of that without the smell of any smoke after all the threatening your whole life of being cast into a pit of fire. It's just not true. If you believe in God, why denounce Christianity? It's like denying God. That was a comment after one of my video posts where I said Christianity and God are not synonymous. Somebody wanted to know why it is that I am anti-Christian. Listen, let me answer both of them by saying that I have not said anything about religion in over 20 years because as an ex-evangelical minister who left the church over 20 years ago, I just decided to stay away from religion and just keep it far from me and I would be good. There are many reasons that I've come back to it right now, and those two comments is one of them. The fact that she believes that God and Christianity are synonymous is why I have declared for the past month, just about every time I've opened my mouth, that they are not the same. People believe in God and denounce Christianity. For those of you who still believe it is the same, is why there's so much fanaticism in the world when it comes to religion. In that fanaticism, people don't understand how it has converted to tyranny. They are in a lot of ways upholding the tyranny that we need to transcend in order to rise in the world today. Our world needs independent thinkers. So why am I talking about this? Am I anti-Christian? First of all, I'm not anti-anything. I've learned a whole lot after leaving the church. I've had quite the journey on my spiritual journey after leaving religion. I know that a lot of you think that you can be spiritual in the church. No, you can't. You can only be religious. It's highly unlikely. Are there some who can truly allow other people to just live and be whatever they're going to be and practice whatever they want to practice and not be judgmental and all of that? Ooh, there are some. But for the most part, Christianity teaches people, and particularly in different sectors of Christianity, particularly where I came out of, evangelical and Pentecostal, quite judgmental. But the reason I've come back to this is for the people who are on the fence. It's for the people who are on the fence, but they are still sticking with it because of the conditioning, and they would like some freedom from the guilt that accompanies their desire to leave it. So for starters, I am here for them. I am not here for Christians. I left the convincing and converting business when I left Christianity. I am not out here trying to convince and convert anybody to anything. I am simply here to be a resource for those who are in that space of discomfort, staying in it for whatever reason. For many of you, you really are in church purgatory, thinking that if you leave the church, then somehow you're going to be naturally condemned to hell. There is no hell for you to be condemned to. That's one of the things that the Christian church has done a fantastic job of, is convincing people that there is a hell. I know you read a book that says that there is. The correct interpretation of all of that will free you, okay? There was nobody there for me when I left the Christian church over 20 years ago. I did not understand how contrived so much of the Christian church is. And if it is contrived, then what is the truth? Well, it took me a long time to actually get to what I believe is now the truth, which is something that does not make me feel bad about myself, which does not push all the guilt. Again, though, not here to convince and convert into anything else. I just know that so much of what we were conditioned to believe was more for control, to keep us all subjugated to the powers that be, the things that they needed us to do. They needed some good little soldiers. They needed some people who were docile. They needed to have these hierarchies where they put some people in places of authority that we didn't question and that we would just follow. So am I anti-Christian? No, I'm not anti anything. You see, after I left the church, I also started to understand that being anti anything is just unhealthy. Not just for me, but for our world, because anything you are anti, you are actually giving more energy to. That's all this world is energy. So the things that you are taught to despise or to hate, and if you're against this, then you're against God, and if anything you are against, then you are actually giving more energy to. So you'll never see me out marching against nothing or standing against anything. That if there's something that I don't want, I don't give my energy to. But there is a way to correct the stuff in the world that you don't want by elevating your own consciousness. You see, too many people believe that Christ consciousness means that you go up and you give your life to Jesus. And in giving your life to Jesus and becoming a Christian, then you automatically get Christ consciousness. Not. Isn't it something how they make entry so easy? But once you get into it, it's so hard to get out because you have yielded yourself to their conditioning. You have been programmed just like a computer. And it is the hardest shit you'll ever have to deprogram yourself from. So nobody was there for me. My life has been about personal development. This just fits right in as far as I'm concerned. And the only way to get rid of the fears that the church has done a phenomenal job embedding is to expand your own personal development. You have to grow beyond the fears they have embedded into you. That, along with everything else, correcting everything, is about love, loving self first, and understanding what all that means. Because in the Christian church, you have been taught not to love yourself in so many ways, or it's so conditional. You can love yourself if you do X, Y, Z. These checklists in the Christian church are really ridiculous. They are so harmful. But when I was in it, honey, you couldn't have told me anything was harmful about those checklists. See, I was just earning my way to heaven. And I was being safe. So I was doing all the stuff to make sure that nothing hindered me from getting to heaven. It's all lies. But what we don't recognize is how condemning that is to self. Are you in a space where you just want to talk about it? Well, there's a link in the description box below where we can talk. And to undo all of that, there is such guilt that is intertwined with all of that. And you really don't even recognize it until you start to try and unravel it. And if you're around other people who see you pulling away, then the guilt trips will make it even worse. So our world is in a space where we need free thinkers. So dogma in anything, religion, politics, education, anything you've given major authority to, it's time out for that. It's time for you to take your power back. If you're on the fence, time to get off the fence. Because all the things you feared, there's no need. You don't need to be afraid of the stuff they've conditioned you for. You just have to have the courage to separate yourself from it. That includes the controls that are around you. For me, over 20 years ago, it meant leaving everything and everybody I knew. That meant husband, and all the church, because those were all my friends. My friends and family was the church. The way I was ostracized, it was not easy, but there are so many people who have awakened now that it's not as unusual as it was for me over 20 years ago. The reason I have not touched religion publicly is because I want my journey respected. Religious folk don't really know how to do that, but I want my journey respected. So I needed to pull away from and allow anybody who was still in religion to have their journey respected. So I haven't touched it. But today, religion has played a huge role in the tyranny. In fact, they made sure we didn't even touch it. Don't talk about politics and don't talk about religion. Do y'all think we came up with that? No, it's like all the other propaganda. That came from the powers that be. The church's objective is to instill enough fear that you start to self-govern, to control yourself for their objectives. In so doing, their programming works. I mean, all the stuff going on in the Bible is some scary stuff. And then on top of that, to say that if you don't follow this checklist, there is this heaven and there is this hell, and you will burn in eternal fire if you don't follow this checklist. And to be conditioned for that for your entire life, well, hell, that's some shit for your ass. Listen, I've been through it. My work is actually personal development, and that's what I'm getting back to. But that's really all you will have to do is to start to get rid of the fears. So developing you while you are deprogramming yourself is really all this is about. So I'm not spending the rest of my life focused on church stuff. No, this is to just give you a cushion that says, there is life beyond the church, and I am telling you, it's super sweet. Will you have to undergo a lot of changes? Yes. Will you have to do a lot of growing? Yes. But baby, you came here for that. You came here, you chose to be here in this time so that you could be a part of these wonderful, massive changes that are happening in the world. And you are equipped. You have everything you need to be able to walk away from all of that without the smell of any smoke after all the threatening your whole life of being cast into a pit of fire. It's just not true. And this is why I called my series the Fear and Mind Fuckery series, because the way the powers that be set this shit up was to scare you in every possible way. It started with the Roman Catholic Church and every other denomination that sprung off from that tries its best to make sure that it says it is not Roman Catholic. Different branch, same trunk. Because the fundamental programming worked. They don't care if you get more emotional. In fact, the more emotional you get in church, the more bound you are to all the things you believe. They understand energy. So they like, yes, Black folk, with all those emotions you're bringing to the church, then yes, come and put all that seasoning on it too, because the more emotion you bring to it, again, that's energy, then the more bound you are to the religion. It's a game, y'all. You just got to decide how you gonna play it. You've been playing according to their rules. You ready to switch it up? So there you have it. I am not anti-Christian. I am not coming after the Christians. I am solely here for those who are on the fence, who are looking for some support as they transition out of the church. Because God and Christianity are not synonymous. And I believe that if more people understood that God and Christianity are not synonymous, the church wouldn't have such a chokehold on people. If more people understood that the Bible is not holy, if more people understood that the Bible is not to be read literally, I don't think the church would have as much of a hold on people. If more people had the courage to peek beyond the veil of what they've told them to think and how they've told them that they're supposed to live, then they'd find that life is a lot more enjoyable. The only rule there is love. That's it. Love yourself, love your neighbors. But what does that mean? What is the whole love part? See, if they've misled you in the most basic things, then there's no way you're going to be free from it. That's the whole point. To get you for generation after generation after generation, and then to create so much social pressure that you won't even think about leaving. That's how they've got so many people. There's so much of me that feels so much more compassion for Christians today than I've been capable of, quite honestly, over the past 20 years. But I do indeed feel a lot of compassion for them now, because I do understand that it's the biggest brainwashing of, I believe, the world. So I'm not here to change Christians' minds. Nobody could change my mind when I was in it. I am here for those who are on the fence, or who are so frustrated with it, or who know that there's some stuff that just ain't right about it. And who's looking for some resources and an understanding of what the original text was, because that's how I was freed, was understanding that it's all contrived, and then to understand the real conniving aspects of it. Well, that was too much for me. That's all I got for you today. It's your life. Choose it just as it is. Own it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Change it. As long as you can breathe and learn, it can get better. Are you in a space where you just want to talk about it? Well, there's a link in the description box below where we can talk. Ciao for now.